What's up, everybody? Thralls Mellow here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin John.
And we have yet another album review for you. Again, September, fucking loaded with releases, and we're going to try to cover as many as possible. And this was one I didn't want to miss because I think this band is absolutely fucking awesome. So we are going to go over the debut full-length from Gutvoid, Durance of Lightless Horizons. This also comes out on the 23rd of September on Blood Harvest Records. This band formed in 2019 in Toronto, Canada. This is their debut full-length. They had one other EP before this, which I went over in a collection update. Astral Bestiary, which I was a big fan of. And this band features two members of the band Fumes, which is also very disgusting, awesome death metal, which is exactly what this is, with a huge Lovecraftian theme to it. And believe me, it sounds like Lovecraft should be involved, because this is some dank, disgusting death metal, but I mean, it's beyond primal. Like, this is actually really kind of technical and very lavish. It's just fucking filthy, though.
I wholeheartedly believe this record was made for me, actually. I think Cthulhu took me in his tentacle arms, so to speak, and just said, "Come here, guy." And I said, "Okay, buddy." And he hugged me.
Just hold me now.
Yeah, just hold me.
Tell me everything's gonna be awful and all the humans are gonna die.
You seen that South Park episode where Cartman rides Cthulhu and he's like, "Hey, it's okay, buddy, you're a good Cthulhu." Like, this was that for me. I'd never heard of this band until Nick said, "Hey, we should review this band." And I jammed it in the car on the way to have dinner with him and his mom, and it was magical. And I loved every second of it. Filthy, all the things I love, dissonant as all get out, chuggy as fuck. The things I love about death metal are in this album.
Yes. I was definitely excited to hear this one because I was a big fan of the EP, and this definitely expands on that EP sound. Now, the EP was definitely more raw, a little bit more muddy. This time they had Colin Marston do the production, which he did a fantastic job in here. It still sounds filthy and disgusting and sounds like it was recorded inside of a damp, dripping cave, but mixed well, separated, and surprisingly loaded with a lot of melody. Which melody was definitely a thing on their EP, but I think it is expounded upon here. And with the length of the songs, because there's only 6 tracks on here, but all of them are like pretty much around the 6 to 8 minute, length. We have one over 14 minutes. Now, this is one of those bands I would say you could almost just call death doom, but they are labeled as death metal, at least according to the archives, which both make sense because you get elements of both. Like, it has a lot of slow, just single chug, lumbering pace songs and moments within songs. But you also have good up-tempo sections where it brings in like a lot of just like classic old-school death metal groove, blast beats. There's even some blackened moments on Skeletal Glyph, I think. But for the most part, in terms of like the overall vibe of this, it's very much along Death Doom.
Yes, and the best parts of Death Doom. Like, they really do it well. I got reminded of bands like Solothus and Crypts, Disma. I mean, just when they do a doom breakdown, it is just mind-numbingly gross.
But it's also with melody, which is like a big thing on here. There are lots of lead melodies, not a lot of solos, but there are some, especially on the one that dwells beyond time, which is just an absolute monster of a track. But it's cool how they kind of incorporate that behind these single chugs and massive riffs and tremolos that are on here. There's always this fluttering of melody, and they employ distant melodies a lot too, but they do it in a way that I like, because generally that's something like, all right, if you do too much of that, you're just going to drive me nuts and it's going to become a wash sound. They combine like good, solid, chuggy death metal riffs with like dissonant tags at the end of it, and that actually makes it pleasant. That adds something to the riff and adds atmosphere. And the atmosphere on here is pretty much, don't go in that cave by the seashore because you heard something. Trust me, nothing good will come of it.
But he offered me $20.
That voice did not offer you $20.
It did. It said, "Come in here."
No, it said it was going to flay the skin off your body. No, you heard that wrong.
I heard it had starbursts and all the red ones, just like I like.
Well, Fare thee well, dead man.
One thing in general that I really like about this is even though that these are really long songs, it doesn't feel like they're really long songs because they keep you engaged the entire time.
Yeah.
B, there's no filler. There's no... Because I feel like a lot of bands like this could easily throw in an interlude or some moist, like, cavernous goo. But there wasn't any. Like, they always get right to the point. They immediately set the mood right at the beginning of the song.
Yep.
And then it just descends downward into a tar pit in hell.
Yeah.
And it's great.
It's Cthulhu's Rumpus Room, like pretty much the entire album. But that is something I really like too, is setup. You know, they don't need a lot of samples or anything like that. In fact, I don't think there are really any samples on here. They lead it in musically and set that mood. But I mean, you know, a couple of dripping noises and groans would not have been like ill-fitting on here at all. But I like the fact that it was all musical. And musically, something I liked in terms of the longer songwriting is I would not call this band progressive because it's just too fucking disgusting to be called progressive.
Yes.
But it employs a lot of progressive songwriting dynamics. Some of these songs feel like they are written in movements, so there's like this natural flow to them. And it's really cool to kind of hear them like, you know, bookend certain riffs and kind of like, you know, just take the songs for a walk. Like they like to take riffs for a walk, add melodies. The vocals on here are grimy, like otherworldly. They sit a bit in the back of the mix. So it's like this throaty groan where you kind of picture some creature that every time it talks, some like green fog comes out of its mouth. I'm not saying the frontman's breath is kicking or anything like that, but if they said, oh no, it is literally an ogre that we unearthed and said, hey, would you like to do some sick death metal vocals? And it went, no.
You know, like in the new Ghostbusters when Slimer burps and it comes out as green mist, it's that.
Yeah, it's gross, but I mean, that's kind of everything about this. It's gross, but it's also kind of like cosmic and alluring. And at no point on this did I feel like it was just kind of overdoing, like just being, you know, atmospheric and sort of dank and, you know, like trying to overdo that. It's moving along at a good pace. The riffs are interesting. The drum work's fantastic.
Yes.
You know, that is definitely something to say for a band that writes like, you know, mostly super long songs.
Well, and another cool thing is that normally in bands like this, you get a lot of tremolo, which isn't a bad thing. I'm not against that at all. But this band, in this case, they used it sparingly, and they created layers with different melodies and different riffs and whatnot. And although there were tons and tons and tons of layers in this disgusting, drenched atmosphere, it's not overdone by tremolo. They incorporate a lot of different riffing styles to fill in that space.
And that riff variety kind of plays with transitions too, because this band kind of likes to like lay on certain parts and build on top of them rather than transitioning abruptly into the next section. Like a lot of this kind of reminds me of like Tomb Mold circa Manor of Infinite Forms. It has that where, you know, there are some really wild transitions, but when it comes down to like a big riffy hook, they lay on it. They'll throw a lead on top of it, or just like an additional bit of atmosphere, like a doomy synth way in the background. It adds a lot and it keeps you really engaged. And this, you know, kind of lays on a lot of really solid grooves too. Like the drums are fantastic on here, but it's not so like technical where you're kind of losing the rhythm at all. You're just kind of there.
Yep. Again, for long songs, you know, it's important not to lose the attention span, so to speak. And like the fact that it's technical, but it's not. It's technical in the sense that there's always like a melody going on, but it labors groove and doesn't immediately abandon it for something new. Like it sticks with it, but it just builds on top of it, which is where the progressive idea comes from. One of my favorite tracks, and it was when I listened to it this afternoon, and it still was when we jammed it again, In Caverns It Lurks. This is just drenched with morbid angel worship and bloodbath worship and Disma worship. What more do you want me to say? There are such filthy fucking riffs on this song. I mean, the melody's all over this record. I think we could all gush about all the melodies on this record, but as far as like really heavy riffs are concerned, this song is the first time where it comes in to play, and it's just gross, and I love it.
Those tremolo riffs that kick off that song in particular, and you know, we talked about how tremolos aren't used as much. Those stand out. Holy shit, those reek of Morbid Angel. And that's kind of the thing that I really started kind of getting a vibe about this album is it's a really good mix of brutality, solid riff writing, melody, and atmosphere. Like, they really combine all that really well. And this is 52 minutes, and it's a very succinct listen. Like, you know, it kind of went by a little quickly, mostly because I was into, like, every fucking moment.
Right. I'm actually really surprised I don't still have stank face, because just the whole record I was just...
You look like one pissed off bullfrog for most of it. It was like, you stroke it out? Like, no.
No, it's great. I'm happy.
For me, a big standout on here was The One Who Dwells Beyond Time. The melodies on that song in particular feel a little bit more epic, like epically evil, like not triumphant, and definitely not, we're doing good things, because you're not. You're summoning something horrible to annihilate mankind. I'm not totally against that. But this is one of the few songs in here that really has like a flat out lead, as we brought up too, and that lead section is absolutely awesome, and the riff behind it is actually killer. But the death doom break in here is the thing that really stands out. And again, lumbering, brooding, oppressive as hell, but they throw in melodies on top of it, and it just kind of, I don't know, makes it like slightly more accessible. It doesn't dull the blow of it, but I don't know, it kind of makes it a little bit more alluring.
And where they place it too, it's not in the where it would typically be in a song, where it comes towards the end after they do a bunch of other bullshit. Like, it's in the middle of the song, and it is gigantic. There's no way to describe how big these guitars are.
About as big as Cthulhu's wingspan.
The last track on this album, Wandering Dungeon, is a favorite, I know, of both of ours. First of all, this is the nearly 15-minute opus. This song, to me, overall, has the vibe of Bloodbath's No God Before Me.
Yeah.
The one they just released. It is slow and doomy and chuggy throughout. Jesus Christ, the doom breakdown in this song.
Which one? There's like 8 of them.
Yeah.
They were all amazing.
Man, I love this song. And it lets up on the melody just a bit.
Yep.
Like, because melody is very, very prevalent on all of these songs, and we kind of talked a little bit about how maybe it was too much in some spots, and they needed to let the riff breathe a little bit.
There's a lot of clean tones. Like, think like Dream Unending or Worm in terms of like, you know, there's like a pretty sort of ambient melody on top of stuff. Now, granted, there are sections where they just let the riffs breathe, but they're very persistent on here.
Yes.
Now, they do switch up to, like, dissonant melodies in terms of, like, tagging at the end of the riffs, and again, you do get, like, one good solo, but the melodies in here are very frequent to the point where it kind of, you know, dulls the impact of the melodies, and there's moments where you just want to hear the riff breathe. Because, man, the riffs are fucking good. And this last track did a great job of spacing out those melodic sections with the, you know, more clean lead tone, and just letting these riffs wash over you like a tidal wave of fucking Cthulhu snot. This whole song runs like a death metal version of a good chunk of Mastodon's Leviathan. It has all those, you know, sort of seafaring, disgusting sort of nods to it, with the crawling, dissonant riffs that feel like tentacles slithering. Giant instrumental lead in before a single vocal comes in, and it just builds this song to absolutely disgusting heights, or depths, rather. I think depths is probably more appropriate, because, you know, that's where Cthulhu
Yeah, there wasn't
sleeping.
much. There are a couple of ascending melodies, but mostly it goes down.
Oh, it descends like a motherfucker.
Down.
All the way to Riley. But the thing I really liked is towards the end, all of a sudden it cuts off, you get a clean melody, and there was about 4 minutes left in the song. I was like, please don't let it drone out on this. Like, granted, it's a cool, clean melody, but it comes back with, again, another giant death doom break, and then it keeps building on top of it. There's like a droning synth in the background that comes in, and they pair that with the lead melodies, and it just sounds flat out epic, but like evil epic. Like, this entire song could be the score for every scene with the octopus in It Came From Beneath the Sea. You know, that big squid that destroyed the Golden Gate Bridge. Or, you know what, actually, as it fades out, that could be like, you know, Godzilla walking back into the ocean after he just fucks shit up.
Yeah. His triumphant walk back into the ocean.
Like, yep, Tokyo's nice and fucked. All right, time to go back to sleep.
Again.
But hey, they should thank me. I beat up another monster that did probably the same amount of damage that I did. Fuck them.
Yep. So after much thought, I'm going to give this record 4.5 stars. Dude, I fucking loved it. Again, I think they wrote this record for me. Full of dissonant chugs and beautiful melodies and just to the depths of just like the bottom of the sea and then deeper than that. And yeah,
drilling for oil, and they struck John.
I mean, I could stank face for the rest of my life on this album. What they do well. I like that it wasn't, again, oversaturated with too much of anything. While I will say that I had a tiny gripe about all the constant melodies, I'm willing to actually throw that out the window on the fact that this record was heavy and beautiful and gross and full of Cthulhu snot. And I don't even know what I'm saying, but I loved it. I loved all of it. You got me. You win. Good job, Gutvoid. Right in the here. Cthulhu, look, towards the end of Wandering Dungeon, I let Cthulhu embrace me in a hug. And he said, "It's okay, guy." And I said, "That's right, buddy." And he said, "You're my friend."
They're going to get an apartment together. It's really sweet.
Yep. I really...
It's a big apartment.
It's a great big apartment, because obviously one of us is bigger than the other.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I could gush about this for a while.
Please no.
So, good job. I'm not actually going to gush. That's gross. That's gross. No one does that.
I am at a 4, and I'm entertaining the possibility of it being a 4.5 in the future, but for right now, it is a solid 4, like, locked in there with only room to grow. I don't see this getting worse. Like, that seems fucking impossible. I really enjoyed their EP. Holy shit, this is a giant step up in just about every facet. This is just flat out disgusting, and I love the fact that it's tuneful. It's very hooky for what it is. It's a great balance of melody, brutality, atmosphere. The vocals are fucking, otherworldly. Everything just feels focused on delivering the nastiest, most brooding, oppressive, dank, other gross adjectives I can't think of right now kind of album they possibly can, and I loved pretty much every second of it. I am on board with the fact that I do think some of the lead melodies kind of drown out really good riffs. At the same time, those lead melodies, really good. The songwriting on here, I think, is fantastic. Again, it dry humps good riffs. Well, this is, Cthulhu worship, so it's not dry. It's kind of slimy. But it sticks with them, and it builds on top of them. There are really solid transitions. There's a lot of technical play in here, but it doesn't feel overtly technical to the point where you're getting lost in it. Everything is at a deliberate pace on here, and that gives the listener time to let all this stuff sink in, and let it sink in. It's an absolutely amazing album. If you've not heard of these guys before, I certainly recommend checking this out. Check out their EP too, and check out Fumes too, because Fumes is fucking awesome too. But yeah, this band is flat out disgusting and off to a great start. But yeah, if you love disgusting death metal / death doom, and you like an atmospheric and riffy as fuck, oh my god, check this shit out. So, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there is a link down below to thrallsmetal.com, where there's a link to our Patreon. But there's also our store there, where we have shirts, and we will have other merchandise here soon.
Hats.
Not wearing the hat. Damn, threw me off.
That's okay, well, because I knew he was going to talk about grenades, and I didn't want the hat to fucking take over the beauty of the incoming grenades.
As sure as John and Cthulhu are going to get an apartment together, there will be grenades. So, yeah.
I mean, the odds are decent, I'd say. Ish. No, yeah, we're talking about hats, probably some shorts, maybe some winter weather wear. That's fun to say.
It is.
Winter weather wear. Yep. Yeah, there might be some stuff, but it's coming. Yeah. Last but not least, the awkward part of the video where we say thank you to you, the fans, the subscribers. Oh my god, I can't believe where we're at here with Thralls of Metal.
In my basement.
Well, right, we're in his basement currently, but I mean, overall, this has become a living, breathing entity that we are not only so proud of, but we're honored to be a part of.
Yeah.
And we couldn't really do any of this without you guys. It would just be me and this dickhead down here talking about metal like we always do. But, yeah, thank you so much to each and every one of you who show up and comment and watch our streams and have become such a big part of this, just like this is such a big part of our lives. So, yeah, to each and every one of you, thank you. And
that was only moderately awkward, so I'm going to throw in a big fat I love you.
Well, now it's more awkward. I love you specifically, but
Oh,
I'm sorry.
you're
I'm
fucking
sorry,
fucking
buddy.
up
Jeez, I'm
everything.
so sorry.
We're trying to
So
thank
sorry.
people. Just trying to get, you know, a little erotic Nick in there too. But, you know, you fucked up the mood. But anyway, you all fucking rule, and we will catch you later.